Okay, welcome to another session on the um, immobilizer key programming tutorials, and now we're going to talk about the why we need to reprogram our keys and most of the cases where we reprogram our keys and all that. Now, basically, there are different situations that will cause you to reprogram a key. You don't just reprogram a key. Number one, or to program a key to a vehicle. Number one, of this situation is when the vehicle stop accepting the key. That's when you one day you wake up, you put up your key onto your vehicle, and it doesn't accept. Well, how can I do that? My vehicle no longer recognizes my key. The mobilizer system no longer recognizes the key. Then you have to get the key reprogrammed. Sometimes you have to take off the chip and put a new chip and get it reprogrammed. Some chip are rewritable, others are not rewritable depending on the type of chip and the manufacturer design and the protocol involved in it. Then we can also look at a situation where you lost your key. Um, Maybe you lost your key and you need a new key, and the key has an it's a transporter key that has the chip in it, the transporter. So you want to reprogram the key. That's another situation. Then we also have, you want to make a spare key. You want to duplicate your keys. You want to have spares. You have a master key. You just bought a car and one key came along with it. You want to have several in case you lost one. Those are various conditions to make a keys, and different keys have different protocols. There are some keys that make sure that you don't have multiple spare keys that can give you about three to four or five keys in the system. So if you lost any of the keys, you can create a new keys, but if they are active keys, you can't make no new keys. So all these will be explained or will be displayed by the manufacturer or the tools you are using. Tool you are using, like in my previous video I talked about the various tools and how they operate. The different tools operate, they have different interface, different display, different setup, different ways of operation. Basically what you are doing is reading your tools and communicating with your tools, looking at the instructions and what is being displayed on your tool, and then you follow the instruction. You want to make a new key, you want to make a spare key, depending on the tool, whether you're using launch or tail or some kind of various tools. There are various diagnostic tools, best tools, several. Like we all know, there are multiple diagnostic tools. There are tools basically for diagnostics. There are some basically for immobilizer. So all these tools basically work together. They they work differently, but they also have problem. If you are a diagnostic technician, you must have known that the various tools must not basically um, have exactly the same display, the same structure, or the same parts to get a particular solution. All work independently, and you, as a diagnostic tech, ought to get used to the tool because of your knowledge of the terminologies that they are working with. You can easily navigate. So there's no particular tool to keep programming. You have to have a lot of tools, and you just follow the point, read the manual. If possible, if they have customer service, contact them in case you don't understand, or in forums. We got a lot of automotive forums where you can ask questions, talk with other people who have used the tools, who are experts in using the tool, and there you can get information on how to work with those tools. So basically there is no best tool in K-pop. It's all about what you want to work with, what you are working with, the type of job you're doing that will determine how it will work. So we have been working on basically Pava. Yes, yes. So pardon me for that. So we have been basically working on various kind of tools and using them for various kinds of operation. Uh, that's for that. Then when we come to how to know if your vehicle the key is no longer working. Like majority of the cases, why a lot of people want to reprogram their key, or some of the few cases, apart from replacement or getting a spare key, some people want to make a key because one day you just step into your vehicle about to start and the vehicle does not respond. You try all you could do and it doesn't respond. Then you come and you meet the auto electrician and it tells you, oh, I've tried all I could do and I feel the key needs to be reprogrammed. The key has lost memory. So you don't just go and step into it, being able to diagnose if the fault is a key programming fault, because sometimes people were confused. Is it the ECU that is bad? Is it the sensor? Is it the vehicle? I don't know. Head, if you don't diagnose the proper fault, you may end up creating a key, and at the end of the day, the key will not solve the fault. There's some situation where we had to create program new keys, or some people program keys and they thought the fault was key, that the vehicle lost memory and they program a new key. That didn't change the problem. That didn't resolve the fault. It was not that, it was another fault that was in that vehicle. So, as a locksmith, as an auto key electrical expert, you have to understand the situation behind it, how you are able to navigate through the diagnosis of key and immobilizer related program. Sometimes your key may be okay, your chip may be okay, and it may be your immobilizer unit that is bad and you have to fix your immobilizer unit. It may be your ignition ring, or I call it immobilizer ring or transponder ring, that is bad. Ignition ring, where that receives the signals, that is bad. A lot could be bad. It could be the amplifier, which is called immobilizer, that is bad. So you have to diagnose properly. You have to diagnose to know. We know immobilizers ring and amplifier rarely do get bad, but there are coincident. There are times where it could be bad. So you being able to identify the fault at the foremost point is very important. Is very paramount to key repairs and whatever. So like let's take a look at a situation. You get a key and you want to fix the key, then you got a problem, you're suspecting the key problem, you take the vehicle. The first thing you should do is, why should you replace the key? Why should you program a new key? In the case when you're diagnosing, the first thing you should do is you should have a valid or a substantial diagnostic report that signifies that your key has lost memory. The key is not communicating, that the key is not communicating with the immobilizer, the ECU of the vehicle, that the key is not being accepted. So you want to use your diagnostic tool. A good diagnostic tool would help you in that. A good diagnostic scanner, when you scan, you see the report, you research about the report, you confirm if it is a key sound. Depending on the diagnostic tool, you'll see if it's not a sophisticated diagnostic tool, you may say communication error or whatever. But in a sophisticated diagnostic tool, usually manufacturers recommended you get more details. And you know what? This is the fault. The key is the fault. When you find out, oh, the key is the fault, then you do your test. If you have spare keys, as you have spare keys, which is very good for you to have. If you have spare keys, you can try any of your spare keys, and if none of your spare keys respond, that shows you that creating if none of if your spare key respond very well, that shows you, or if none of your spare key, pardon me, if none of your spare key respond, that means that it may not actually be that particular key that is bad, so you have to settle down and look at the fault. But if one of your spare keys was able to turn off the vehicle, then you understand, wow, my key needs to be programmed. So that's when you can do the programming. So you have to understand what is wrong with the vehicle, what is wrong before you commence your programming. So all these are points you need to take note of. All these are important factors that you need to understand when it comes to key programming and immobilizer repairs and diagnostics. So these are very important factors and points that we must take note. So when you look at it, but in a case where you don't have a key, so from your experience and from your research, you should see, um, like there are some, depending on the tools you work with, there are some tools that you can use to confirm if the key signal, that is the code written in the program to the key, still corresponds to what the ECU is. You can read them off, you can read the data depending on the vehicle and depending on it. So like I told you that there are various tools and various vehicles, various protocols have various tools that work with them, and you understanding that. That's why you have to have a lot of networking in forums. Nobody is an island. Nobody has a complete knowledge of everything. Everybody has to work together. Everybody has to share idea. Everybody has to consult to be able to solve automotive problem. You have to do review. You have to do research. You have to check through YouTube. You have to check through blogs. You have to message. Sometimes message your support from your manufacturer, your service provider. All these are going to help you to put the vehicle in place. And if you are in a dealer shop, like a lot of you are really watching this video, taking this course, whatever, because you are not a dealer. A dealer shop have direct access to the manufacturer and they can get direct feedback. So for those in dealer shop, they don't have a problem because they have direct access. But you're not a dealer. You just have a little tools that you're working with. So you have to understand that you have to make a little research depending on the tool, except you have mastered the tools. But if you're not going to be working with a particular brands of car and particular years of manufacturing, you must learn to be progressive in learning, to give yourself to learning, to give yourself to getting new things, knowing new things, becoming more innovative as time goes, becoming more innovative. Give yourself to research. All these will matter a lot in key programs. So depending, some tools can read off the codes, and sometimes, like I told you, some cases, depending on the tool you use, if the tool can't bypass the security, it may require you put a code, and those code you can get from certain sources. Although there are some codes that work for a lot of range of cars. So depending on the tool, some tools will tell you to fill in a code, and some tools are going to bypass those codes, those protocols. So the if you have enough money, why don't you get the more expensive tools that tell you bypass codes and just tell you, turn off the ignition, turn off this and that. So there are several expensive tools that you can get. You can message us and we will give you support on how to get these tools that will help you to become a sufficient locksmith and a manufacturer. Sorry, a locksmith and a key reprogramming auto technician. So all these are what it takes, what it entails. All these are what it entails when we talk about key programming and all that. So key programming, it's kind of complex. There's no particular step to it. It's just like diagnostics. It's just like auto diagnostics. The tools you use determine how you're going to face through. So the tools you use determine how you're going to face through. And before you want to become diagnosing faults in key programming, you have to have knowledge of auto diagnostics and understand how to interpret and understand how to read code. Sometimes when you see some communication fault and you can do the electrical diagnostics on the vehicle to know if there's a breach, there's a disconnection, there's a bad sensor before you can go directly to say, oh, this key is programmed. So that's why you need to have good knowledge of auto diagnostics, good knowledge of auto diagnostics, computerized diagnostics, and yeah, you cannot impute that into the key reprogramming. So good knowledge of auto diagnostics. You need to know how to interpret fault code. Why do we need to interpret fault code? How do we interpret fault code? All these are very important. All these are very necessary. All these are very necessary for automotive repairs, for auto diagnostics, and for a lot. So key programming It's beautiful. Key programming is easy when you have the knowledge. So, like I said, bypass those protocol with your tools. Your tools is going to give you a lot of instructions when you are going to turn on the ignition, turn off the ignition, and all those are put in your tools. Your tools is going to help you. It's just like a guide. Is if you are using diagnostics. Oh, you want to erase, what key do you want to input, you want to do that, it tells you, okay, this is what you do. If you do adaptation, calibration, and maybe a little coding with your diagnostic tools, just the same steps you take, those are the same steps you take in key programming, and with that you are able to solve that. So I'm going to talk about in another video how to do the basic step we take in diagnostics, key programming, and all that. Thank you very much.